feel like every week on this channel I end up doing a video on the under 2.5 goal market, but it is my favourite goal market. It's my favourite trading strategy, so I'm going to let you know just what parameters I use when it comes to the under 2.5 goals. I'm going to show you some research from the past week of the football that's gone on and show you what potential profit you've got, what potential losses you've got. There's no live examples here, but we've got quite a bit of data built up. It's not a huge amount of data. I'm definitely going to be keeping track of this over the next few months, so we'll come back to this in a few months' time. So don't have a go at me for it being a very small sample size. Also, I am just a complete beginner when it comes to Betfair trading, so if you see a strategy you like and you see something on one of my channels that you enjoy, please go do some extra research on it before you get started yourself, because I may have missed something or I may have done something completely terribly. But please do some extra research yourself. But this is the strategy I use the most, and this is the way I select my matches. So hopefully you'll enjoy. Sit back, hit the subscribe button while you wait, and we'll get into it. So for those of you who don't know, the under 2.5 goal method is very simple. If we just load up Southampton Liverpool here, for example, go to under 2.5 goals, all you would do is bet or back over on under 2.5 goals a certain amount, and then you'd either wait 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes or 45 minutes depending on how the game goes once you're watching it, and then you would leave for a profit. If a goal comes, you cash out for a loss. You get a pretty hefty loss straight off the bat, but you leave it there just so you don't risk losing your whole liability. But the way I select my matches is quite simple. But if I just quickly show you over here on a live football match, say for example this one over here, we'll go to under 2.5 goals, and you can see it starts off quite high, and then as the game goes on it slowly drops down. You can see in some instances here there was a goal at half time, odds spiked right up, and if you'd got in before the match started at this 1.9 bit section here, you would have still been making a profit despite the goal. That's why sometimes it doesn't harm you too badly to stay in the market longer, because if the goal comes quite late on, you're normally okay with the odds. You're still making a profit. It'll reduce your profit, but you're still making a profit. And you can see here, as the match has gone on, it does eventually get back to the point of profit, and quite a big chunk, because it's obviously sat at 1-0. But my initial selection starts off over on Betfair. I'll load up Betfair, look at the matches that are to come today, change it to under 2.5 goals, and I'll look instantly for matches that are 2.0 or above. Any that are under that, the risk to reward just isn't really there in my opinion for the odds, so I always look for 2.0 or above. So we can see we've got one match here, 2, 3, 4 matches today that could be available for selection. So that's already a nice little chunk there that you can work with. Then I like to narrow it down even more by looking at the statistics over on Soccer Stats. So if we take the Liverpool Southampton as an example, initially 2.88 fits in with my strategy perfectly. It's over 2.0 odds and under 3.0, which is where I like to have my cut off, because normally if it's that high of an odds, then you already know when you do your research that it's not going to come into your category. But between 2.0 and 3.0 is where I like to have my little sweet spot. So 2.88 is a bit high, but I'd definitely keep going. I'd normally go in with a £10 stake because I like to use quite low stakes, and you can see here the potential profit that we'll be able to get. I'll then come over to Soccer Stats over here and load up the match that I'm looking at, and then I'll get scrolling down until we get to this section here, which is all about the contextual averages. So you can see just how many goals have been scored in their most recent matches. So you can see goals for and against over 0.5 at half time. That basically means how often has there been a goal in the first half. And you can see for both these teams the average is 80%. So you know it's going to be more than likely here, based on research, that there will be a goal in the first half. Now I would like to point out here, I do this research before I decide what match to choose. I then put my stake on for the trade, and then I will watch the match live and get a feeling for the game. The research helps me select which games to use. I then basically forget about the research once the game starts and look at how the teams are playing, look at the statistics that are coming through, and that's how I then decide how long to stay in the market once I'm there. I'll do this pre-match research, choose my game, watch it. If the game's lively, I'll leave after 10 minutes. If it's okay, I'll leave after 20, and so on. The less lively the game, the more likely it is I stay till half time. But I use this section here to decide what my actual initial games are going to be that I'm going to trade with. So we can see 80% of the time there is a goal in the first half. The likelihood of there being 2 goals in the first half are at 48%, so that's quite low. It's a fairly decent selection there. These are the 2 I initially use when looking, and then after that I'll then move on to over 2.5 goals at full time, and you can see it's at 53%. If we come over to my spreadsheet, where I've been using to keep track of the games for the past few days, you can see I've kept track of the over 0.5 goals, the over 1.5 goals, this is both in the first half, and then over 2.5 at full time. Now I don't really pay too much attention to this over 0.5 goal selection, because 1 goal in the first half, depending on the time of the goal, isn't going to hurt you too much. It's not going to be the end of the world. I really like to focus on the over 1.5 and the over 2.5 goals. And when I'm choosing my selection, I normally like both of these to be under 50%. If they're both under 50%, I will do my trade. And that is because if I can have a successful strike rate of around that 50% mark, I'm going to be making profit, which is what I'd want. So I'm more than happy to get in if both these are under 50. So let me just get this filtered out for our matches that are under 50%. So let's do less than 50. You can see I've kept track of matches I wouldn't have normally done as well on here, just to showcase that you can do as much research as you want, but there's still going to be quite a lot of anomalies to that research. So you can see out of the matches I was looking at over the past few days, we would have had 5 selections for under 2.5 goal strategy. And you can see one of these was actually quite high at 3.6, so that might have been one I looked to avoid. But depending on my research and how I'm feeling about the game, I might also be still willing to do that. But you can see from the 5 matches I would have done, 2 of them would have had a goal in the first half. And you can see overall, after 10 minutes, we would have made 9.6% profit, 15 minutes, 16% profit, 20 minutes, 25% profit, 30 minutes, 26% profit, and then if we just stayed in all these trades till half time, we would have made a 45% profit. Now obviously this is an incredibly small sample size, but you can just see there initially that it can be quite successful. You can also see that if a goal comes in the first 10 minutes, you're going to be losing around about 60%, which isn't great when you compare it with the other selections that are available here, where you're only making 23%, 18%, 9% there. It's not a great risk to reward for their matches, but that's where the strike rate really becomes beneficial. And you can see here we've got a 60% strike rate of no goal in the first half. When we come over here and look at the actual statistics though, you can see that this match here looked perfect. There was only 26% of the time more than 1.5 goals, and only 40% of the time there was over 2.5 goals. So I was actually quite happy to go in with that trade. Now this is where it shows that stats aren't everything and research doesn't help too much, because that game ended up at half time being 5-1 to the home team. You will get events like that in football. Now you can see with this one down below, 16% of the time 16% of the time you've got over 1.5, 16% of the time you've got over 2.5, and you can see it was 0-0 at half time. So you can see the research did help us there. And you can see we would have actually made 68% profit on our £10 stake. So that would have been a very nice return. But you are always going to get matches like this where it will ruin your research. But that is why I always say my research is to select my matches, and then I will forget the research once the match starts and just use the actual feeling about the game that's going on. I then also want to just highlight some of these trades here. So for example, we've got this match at the top where I wouldn't have done it because over 2.5 was over 50%, but we still would have made a profit. We would have been looking at around about 50% profit at the half hour mark, and we still would have made a profit at half time, even though there was a goal in the 41st minute. So that does show there that the later the goal comes, the more chance there still is for profit. Now you can also see that there was this match here where it was 84% of the time for both over 1.5 and over 2.5, but it went all the way to half time and was 0-0. So you're going to get that variety, and you're going to get them times where your research doesn't actually reflect what happened. But that is why you also go in with the odds and go with that between 2.0 and 3.0, or just at least over 2.0, because then that means you will be looking at a decent amount of profit when you do actually hit that strike rate, so you can maximize your returns. You can see if I'd have done it on all these selections, even just going for my odds of over 2.0, we would have made a profit at all instances, but again, very small sample size, but the profit does go better when we then filter it down to my predetermined selections. So if you want me to continue doing this, I'm going to continue doing this. It's whether or not you guys want to see it. If you want to see this updated table in a few months' time, do please let me know down in the comments. I'll be happy to show you it. This is the method I use myself. As I said, I'll go on to Betfair, I'll find a match that has between 2.0 and 3.0 odds. More than 3.0 odds sometimes do happen. The only requirement I definitely look for is over 2.0. I'll then go do research on the stats. If both the over 1.5 goals and the over 2.5 at full time are both under 50%, I will then go place it. I'll then sit and watch the match live and decide myself whether to get out at the 10 minutes, 15, 20, 30 or 45. They're my exit points. I get out depending on how lively the game is. Let me know what you think of this strategy then down below in the comments. Let me know how you decide what under 2.5 match selection to use and which games to go for. Let me know if there's anything you change about my selection, or if you just completely disagree in general. Let me know down below as well. I'll be happy to hear from you. I'll come back to this in a few months' time, show you what the actual strike rate is after maybe 3-4 months long of doing this. I'll show you some of the trades live as well, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that, and I'll see you next time.